Greetings everyone, Melderon here on another Defcamp Melderon TV video. So today I'd like to talk about the idea or philosophy of hashtag some changes. Now if you've been on this channel for a long time, you know that myself and Defcamp have been strict no changes for a very long time. Hashtag no changes, the movement was important because it kind of set boundaries for the Classic WoW community, for the Classic WoW development team, but as we all know, that it doesn't really exist anymore. The game is in a state of 1.12, which is obviously a change, not a change from private servers, but a change. We had things like these interesting spell batching, leeway, which is not really a change, but it's a change in this current infrastructure. We have the different development plan of bringing out certain tiers at certain times. There have been a lot of changes to the game. But what I'm talking about now are changes to the game after launch, post-launch, that doesn't include scheduling changes, like putting out a patch before what we thought we were going to have, or how many phases there are. That to me is just a scheduling push that's a marketing, mostly driven by marketing in my opinion. If the player base is in a lull, push a new piece of content out, get more subscribers back, X, Y, and Z. That happens a lot. That happened with phase 2.5. But what I'm talking about now is changes to the core game, the development of the game, that alters the player experience in a way to, in my opinion, keep the classic feeling or the classic experience intact. The most recent change that I think this has happened in, and it's unprecedented, I think we don't really realize how important this was the nerf to AV honor. That was a huge change, in my opinion, because it literally altered the way the game worked. I know it was a 1.12 AV, so that was an issue as well, right? That's another one of the pre-launch changes. But fixing that is actually a substantial and significant change to the game. And I think we can all agree that that was done for the better. Having these quick pre-made AVs on the alliance side, and just the meta shifted with honor. It was not really a fun experience for a lot of players, even for rankers. A lot of rankers I've talked to have said that it was pure hell, just sitting there spamming AV. And the meta may have not shifted significantly, but it definitely did shift. And one other example, this is kind of minor, but if you guys didn't know, the Goblin Guards in neutral cities, and thanks Gideon AI for bringing this up. When the game launched, they came out with AI scripts from 1.12. However, they were easily buggable, and you could kill people in a certain way if you're standing in a certain location, X, Y, and Z. So what they did was they actually took the AI scripts from 2.0, from TBC, and implemented them into Classic to make them more smart, if you will. That is another change. So my question is it okay to change the game in a way that keeps the Classic experience intact, or at least in an attempt to keep the Classic experience intact? And before I answer that, I want to talk about 2 DefTalks, which we did a long time ago. If you don't know, on this channel, we used to do this series called DefTalk. I would love to bring it back, but it's a little bit harder nowadays. But basically, it was a podcast leading up to the launch of Classic. We talked to content creators and fans of the game about any topic, whether it be, certain classes or gameplay or rating or anything. And there are 2 DefTalks. The first one was with Taladrill, who's a friend of mine and a colleague from Classic WoW Live, and a Druid theory crafter and a prominent Druid member of the Classic WoW community. And he said that if we go into the game with a lot of the things that we have from vanilla, world buffs was one of the biggest ones, it will hamper the Classic WoW experience. Also raid difficulty as well. By increasing raid difficulty, we could perhaps get back to that Classic WoW experience where we didn't know what we were doing and be kind of surprised walking in and the difficulty is higher. On the flip end of that, we had another interview with Orkbit, who is a shaman YouTube content creator and a close friend as well, great guy, and we were talking about, like, no, leave things the way they are. This is the game, this is how it was. So we have 2 opposite ends of the spectrum, and I wanted to say that both of those people, even though they may seem like they're on opposite ends of the spectrum, they really aren't. It's the same core goal is there. We're not talking about like adding the graphics or adding, class balancing. Like that stuff is out the window for me. When I talk about some changes, we're not talking about anything drastic like that. But there's 2 opposite ends of that spectrum, and I think there's a lot of love and a lot of commitment on both sides. What does some changes mean? And is it okay? I think that the AV changes were welcome, and I think that other changes could potentially help. And these changes could be very drastic. I will be making a video about this topic alone, separate, but we have a lot of servers that are very, very horde biased. Scarum is one of them, the one that I'm on. What's going to happen during AQ when there's no alliance to do their side of the bargain? Will GMs have to step in and open the gates for these servers? That's a change post-launch. Is that okay? Well, first, should we even be in that position? Second, is that okay? I think it's going to be a necessary evil for a lot of these servers unless Blizzard finds a way to fix these faction imbalances. So in my opinion, it's okay to make changes to the game in the spirit of the vanilla WoW experience. And we're going to talk about stealth changes. What if Blizzard changes something and we can't know it, or we really can't test it and say, like, oh, you changed something. The easiest way to do that is to buff armor values in raids, or buff the damage of bosses, or mechanic damage. The mechanics themselves don't change, but they're harder to hit. They hit harder. Is that okay? And I have two ways to look at this. As a raider, I'd like more of a challenge. However, there are many guilds that struggle in raids. Is it okay to change the game for the top 10%, 20%, to make raiding more difficult? That's a tough one. I really honestly don't know the answer to that. Selfishly, would I like to see it? Yes. Do I want other people's classic experience hampered? Absolutely not. So that's the weight you have to kind of think about. Will a change like that benefit most of the player base? And I don't know, I don't have the data in front of me how hard MC was for everyone. If it wasn't hard for 90% of the player base, and they cleared it on their like third or fourth week, maybe next time we do Classic, if we do rotating servers, maybe we buff MC damage, maybe we buff mob damage, or health, or armor values. It's hard to say going into it the first time what's going to happen in BWL. That last video I put out, a lot of people said, oh, it'll be puggable in 2 weeks, Melderon. What are you kidding me? And that may be true. You may be right. I said it was going to be puggable. It's going to take a while for the raid to be puggable, and maybe it won't. And maybe everyone will clear it on their first week. I doubt it. Maybe everyone will clear it on their third or fourth attempt, and it's like on farm status within less than a month. Does that mean it has to be harder? I don't know. But what Blizzard did with the AV changes is that they said they weren't afraid to open the door. And that's why the AV changes are so significant. If you're not a PvPer, you might be like, I don't give a shit. Or if you're a fan of the old AV, your taste has been tainted already. But it's significant to know that Blizzard is, at some level, okay with and feels justified with making changes to the game in the spirit of vanilla WoW. And I wonder what that'll mean for the future. Or what will happen in the next lifetime of Classic WoW if we do rotate back to MC one day. So I guess the question is some changes okay? Is the idea of changing the game post-launch in a way that AV was done okay? In my opinion, yes, but with caveats of what are you changing, right? And the second question is, when do you implement them? Or how do you know it's okay to implement them? I don't know. So it's something to think about, something to chew on, and I'd like to know from you guys, what changes would you like to see done to improve your player experience? Do you think that raids should be buffed? Do you think large-scale events like the AQ opening should be altered in a way to help these other servers that are horribly balanced? And then the third big question is, what changes would you like to see in addition to those examples? You know, it's hard to think about what issues may arise later on in the game. What may be exploitable later on in the game? There may be things in Warsong Gulch that we aren't even thinking about may be exploitable. Is it okay to step in those circumstances as well? And is hashtag some changes perhaps the way to be right now, and the way to think about this game, because the world has shifted. It's not the game so much that has shifted, but it's the world that has shifted. So let me know what you think. Tell me what you're passionate about. Tell me what things you think Blizzard could change to make the game better. And if you think these quote-unquote stealth changes are something that Blizzard should do, and would you be okay with that if they did? So that's the question for today. Lastly, before I go, guys, I'd like to ask you guys another question real quick. So I really like this opinion-style format that I've been doing with videos, where I kind of just talk to you guys about what I think, about what I'm doing. We could still do guidey type videos this way, where I can discuss about a topic, what I feel about a certain build or a certain whatever raid encounter. The options are limitless with this type of setup. So what other topics would you like me to cover in future videos that are in this style? The sky's the limit. We can go through like zone exploration, lore, opinion pieces, changes to the game, raids, guides. Let me know. It's easier for me with work to be able to do this and just talk to you guys for a bit and just edit this than edit a full large-scale PowerPoint presentation. I'm not saying I would never do those again. I love that format, and that's kind of what I'm known for, but I appreciate this type of format as well. So let me know what you think. If you like this format, number one, and number two, just give me a whole bunch of ideas and we'll just tackle them one by one. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Keep on keybinding and grinding, and just enjoy yourselves in Classic Azeroth. Have a good one.